You're watching Pulse for the 10th of November, and it's time for some World of Warcraft news. In this week's episode, we take a look at some general Blizzard news, the new Darkmoon Faire coming in patch 4.3, the latest Dev Watercooler post titled The Great Item Squish, or Not, of Pandaria, a video looking at the beauty of Azeroth, and more. Let's get started. Now we're going to be starting this episode off with something other than the patch 4.3 news. Yes, that's pretty peculiar, but let's just roll with it. Activision Blizzard's latest earnings call was just a couple of days ago, and it revealed that World of Warcraft has lost yet another 800,000 subscribers. That's quite a lot, and that's following the loss of 300,000 subscribers in the quarter before that, and another 600,000 in the quarter before that. That brings us to a total of 1.7 million subscribers lost in the last 3 quarters. That's pretty crazy. Some notes that were made are that most of the subscriptions were lost in China. There's apparently usually an increase in subscriptions around December. I have to mention that although they lost these subscribers, they still tripled their profits in this quarter. That's compared to the same quarter of last year. And the majority of this revenue, 62%, came from digital sales. Honestly though, I think WoW will pick up a lot of new subscribers come Mists of Pandaria. Anyway, other things that were mentioned that aren't strictly World of Warcraft related are that they expect 2012 to be a good year, with titles like Diablo 3 and apparently another Call of Duty in the works. Blizzard say that they do, however, plan to release at least 2 major titles next year. We do expect that to be Diablo 3 and Heart of the Swarm though, so I'm not sure where Mists of Pandaria would fit in. Maybe they'll squeeze it in at the end of the year. Anyway, you can read all about this latest earnings call below if you're interested. As a couple of extras, Blizzard say that the mass layoffs are just a rumor, and Netharia from over at Blizzard Entertainment is celebrating her 5-year anniversary. So that's pretty special. But now let's move on to the proper World of Warcraft news, starting with the patch 4.3 updates. So one quick mention before we head into the actual patch 4.3 content. Rumor has it that we might see this patch on the live servers on December the 7th. With the release of the Hour of Twilight, patch 4.3, players on European realms will be able to play World of Warcraft in Brazilian Portuguese, and on December the 7th specifically, a realm dedicated to the Portuguese community will open with optional time-limited free character transfers from specific English realms. Now because of this, people are saying that December the 7th looks the most likely, and it does look like December the 7th is in fact a Wednesday. So I don't know if it's true, but it seems pretty viable. And added to that, you can also download at least a portion of patch 4.3 on the World of Warcraft background downloader. So you can read more about all of this below. So now in the latest couple of patch 4.3 builds to hit the PTR, we got a bunch of cool new stuff. Firstly, the entire Dragon Soul raid has been made available and Deathwing has actually been killed. Along with that, the new Darkmoon Faire island is also available for testing. The last part or encounter with Deathwing is in fact the 7th one in the instance, and well, it looks pretty damn cool. After the 6th encounter where you engage Deathwing and rip his armor plates off, you find him thrown into the maelstrom and you must fight his final form. It seems like the 4 aspects help you out in this fight, and well, there's a lot of stuff you need to know if you want to do it. I won't be covering the fight in its entirety, but I will link you to 2 videos with 2 different people doing it, so you can see this from 2 different points of view. I have to say I do like the look of the Dragon Soul raid, although I don't know if I'm going to be doing it myself. I wouldn't mind giving it a try. Now the reason the guilds or groups on the PTR took it down so easily was because it was actually nerfed. And nerfed bad. Apparently this is going to be buffed immensely when the patch actually goes live. This is just for testing purposes. Anyway, as I said, you can check 2 different videos of that fight out right here on YouTube or in the links below this video. The next big thing, as I mentioned earlier, was in fact the addition of the Darkmoon Faire island. I will also just say that the only reason it was active over this past weekend was because it was the first weekend of the month. So there is a lot to do on this island, and the guys over at Wowhead and MMO Champion have got us covered. To get to the new Darkmoon Faire island, on the PTR right now at least, you have to talk to one of the NPCs in the capital cities to be teleported to the fair's old location. This month it was in fact in Goldshire. Then you step through the portal to be taken to a completely new island. You go for a quick ride through the woods, and then you discover the fair at the bottom of the hill. Now, I'm not going to cover every single little activity here, but I'll tell you what you can expect. First up, let's just have a look at some of the loot that you can get. There are 2 mounts that you can pick up. One is the Darkmoon Dancing Bear, and the other one a Swift Forest Strider. Then there are a bunch of companion pets as well, 6 in total at the moment, and these can obviously all be purchased with Darkmoon prize tickets. Then you can buy a bunch of miscellaneous items such as a cloak, a sword and a hammer. You can buy heirlooms with those tickets, and lastly, and I gotta say probably most interestingly, you can buy the very first class armor sets. These are the old level 65 man dungeon sets. You can buy them for all classes, and apparently they don't even cost that much. This is obviously just to make transmogrification a little bit easier, and I wouldn't be surprised if other sets get added to that vendor in the future. Along with all of these, there are vanity items and other extras you can have a look at in the links below. Now, as for the activities, there are a couple to have a look at. There's a target shooting game, there is the good old Tonk Commander game, a ring tossing game, the Darkmoon Cannon is still there, there's a new Whack-a-Knoll game, there's the Darkmoon Deathmatch Arena. The name pretty much says it all. Any player who enters the arena will be flagged for PvP and will be able to fight other players there. There are profession quests for all professions that you can do that will award you with tickets, and you can watch level 90 Elite Tauren Chieftain perform every hour. I would say the easiest way of having a look at what's new in the Darkmoon Faire is just to watch one of the videos on it. The guys from over at MMO Champion and WoW Insider have videos up, and WoW Krendor from right here on YouTube has a video up too. If you're more the reading type, Wowhead has a pretty extensive guide up covering all of it as well. So again, if you want to read all about Darkmoon Faire, the links below have you covered. Everything is there. Then in a couple of extras relating to all of this, Guildmasters can now be dethroned in patch 4.3. World event pets are no longer bound on pickup. That's a pretty huge change. And lastly, the next parts of the Fangs of Father questline are in fact live as well. You can find all of that along with the full patch notes below. Now it's time to have a look at the next Dev Watercooler or Coffee with the Devs post. This one titled, The Great Item Squish, or Not, of Pandaria. Now this is all about the item level and stat inflation on gear, and this was apparently meant to be spoken about at BlizzCon, but the devs ran out of time. Now in this latest Dev Watercooler post, Ghostcrawler addresses the problems related to stat budgets and proposes several solutions that Blizzard have in mind for said problems. You could see that this was meant to be shown off at BlizzCon because they even have graphs set up to show how the item level versus character level was blown up from Vanilla to Burning Crusade to Wrath of the Lich King and then to Cataclysm. Now if you look at the way it's been going so far, the numbers would get pretty huge come Mists of Pandaria, and that's not exactly what Blizzard want. The 2 proposed solutions are Mega Damage and the item level squish that we were talking about before. Mega Damage is the much cooler one of the 2. This first solution could include changes like adding commas and the like to large numbers. Blizzard could also compress all those thousands to Ks and all those millions to MS, much like they do with boss health today. Internally, they have been calling this the Mega Damage solution, because instead of your fireball hitting for 6 million damage, it would hit for 6 mega damage, as you can see illustrated in this image. Now the second solution actually involves compressing item levels, which is why they call it the item level squish solution. If they can lower the stats on items, then they can lower every other number in the game as well, such as how much damage a fireball does or how much health a Gron has. Honestly, this one does make a lot more sense, and it's going to be affecting the entire game, everything from level 1 to level 90, not just from level 85 to 90. That said, I hope they can actually make it work, but this, coupled with a new talent system and everything else coming in Mists of Pandaria, could make it very exciting. If you are interested in anything I spoke about right here, you can see the latest Dev Watercooler post over at the official World of Warcraft community sites or in the links below this video. Now before heading into the smalls, let's have a look at this. Michaelis, a player from the German realm Die Aruchswacht, has created a wonderful video to pay homage to the beauty of Azeroth. Now this was no small feat. This movie was apparently just created to show off all the really nice places in Azeroth that said player enjoyed. They had around 326 clips, which was 236 gigs worth, and they couldn't use them all in this movie, else it would become way too long. So they had to pick and choose a little bit. Honestly, looking at this video, it seems like Michaelis chose the right clips. It looks absolutely amazing, and I'm definitely the type of player that would appreciate that kind of thing. I do remember spending a lot of time while leveling looking at the scenery and not actually leveling. So if you're interested, you can check that out right here on YouTube. Now let's have a look at the World of Warcraft Smalls. First up, a quick reminder. The BlizzCon 2011 store post-show sale begins on November the 11th. You can have a look at the BlizzCon 2011 fan site coverage. This is pretty much just a wrap up of all the coverage that the various fan sites did of BlizzCon. PvP Season 10 is ending soon, and you can read about that over at the official World of Warcraft community site. You can read about some updates made to the World of Warcraft annual pass. You can check out the live Q&A about class design and balance. There are a bunch of art updates to have a look at. You can have a look at a new site feature over at Wowhead, transmogrification sets. Then there are a couple of Mists of Pandaria recaps from Trade Chat right here on YouTube. These cover pretty much everything that was mentioned at BlizzCon. Pandas, monks, Pokemon, PvP, raids, dungeons, scenarios, and more. Then have a look at a video by WowCrendor. This is titled How Not to Be Bored in World of Warcraft. It's pretty good, as most of his are. There's an interview up with J. Allen Brack over at Wired, wherein he speaks about Pandaren and pet battles. And lastly, Mindflame has a video up titled It's Not Quite Illegal Danish #1, Dirty G's Vanilla Chronicles. Pretty peculiar. Before ending this off, I will mention that there are a couple of blue posts below to have a look at. I'm not going to cover them right here, but if you're interested, if you want to read absolutely everything World of Warcraft related, you can check the links below for those. I will say the only really interesting blue post I saw was about the monk class color. It's set to be jade green. It's not final, but that's what they're planning. Sadly, that's all I have for you in the World of Warcraft news. I will remind you once again that you can find everything that I spoke about in this episode below this video. Check back here soon for more. Remember to like the video, favorite it, share it, and subscribe. And most importantly, happy Darkmoon Faire Island.